Barakateh Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakodash. Welcome to another live lesson. Barakateh Yahweh. This one is GMS Biblical History Chronicles, the Genesis story. Ahlahayam, Rivers, the Serpent. So Lord's will, in this lesson, we're going to go back to the Genesis story and touch on the Ahlahayam, which are the powers, the rivers, the four rivers, and the serpent in the garden. So Lord's will, we can get through those three subjects or topics or subtopics of the lesson. All right, what you're seeing before you pretty much is just an outline of biblical history from Abraham all the way up to the Messiah, Yahushai. They got Jesus there. And underneath you see ancient empires. They give you an approximate date when these men were on the scene. And they give you a somewhat of a little bit of a summary of what was taking place during these times. And I just use it as a backdrop for the lesson. When you look up most biblical histories, they tell you that Adam was created around 4000 BC. And that's why the historian Eustace Mullins, which passed away, I believe that was 2010, if I'm not mistaken, they asked him where did he get his information from. He said from the Library of Congress. And they asked him, how far back does your information goes? He said about 5,000 years, which now is almost, you could say almost 6,000, but it's like 5,000 and some change, because the history of the world only goes back, of man really only goes back about 5,000 years to the beginning. And Esau uses that billion years ago, million years ago, because that's a good way to deceive the world. You know, because it would be so-called impossible to go all the way back then and trace all of that back, or whatever the case is. But the history of the world of man is 5,000 plus years old. So now what we're going to do is, there's a reason why the book of Genesis is called the book of Genesis. Now, the way you say Genesis in the Hebrew is Bara'ash Yath. Now, when you break down the Hebrew word Bara'ash Yath, Ba is in, Ra'ash is head, and the Yath at the end makes it plural. So Bara'ash Yath, or in the headings, or in the beginning. All right, Bara'ah, which means create. Ahlahayam, which is where you get, they translated it as God, here singular. Ath, which Ath is a definite accusative, meaning that these things actually happen. And this is something that you will see in a lot of the verses of the scriptures in the Hebrew. The phrase or these two letters Ath, which is a definite accusative, meaning this definitely took place. It says Ha Shemayim. Ha is the, Shemayim is heavens, which breaks down to Shah, which is which, or pertaining to, and Mayam, water. So that which pertains to the waters or the heavens, because the heavens are comprised of many elements. It says Wa'ath, and definitely Ha Arataza. Ha is the, Arataza is earth. So when we break this down, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. This is the origins of everything that we see. This is what the Lord gave to Moses when he brought him up to the mount. And he pretty much gave him the mysteries of how creation started. And Moses jotted down certain things and other things he didn't. But what's interesting in this verse is that we see the word there, God, capital G, smaller case O-D. And when we look, you know, at it, it's seeming like it's speaking about the Heavenly Father himself. But how do we know it's not speaking about the Heavenly Father himself? Well, let's go from there real quick to the second chapter, and then we'll jump back. Genesis chapter 2 and 1. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished. So we're reading here in the second chapter all that took place in the first chapter, the beginning of the creation and the ending of the creation. It says, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day, it says, God ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made. So I'm just reading God for a point. Now in the second chapter, in the fourth verse, this is the very first time that the Most High himself makes an appearance in the narration, I guess you could say, for lack of better words, in the vision that's being given to Moses to write down. It says, these are the generations of the heavens and of the earth when they were created, in the day that Yahweh God, or Lord God, made the earth and the heavens. And when we look up this word Lord in all capital letters, we have what? We have the word here, Yahweh, which Yah is he and Hawa is to be, or he exists. He to be, or he exists, the existing one. All right. And then you notice next word, it has the word God. So when we go back to Genesis 1, the word Lord in all caps does not appear there. It just says, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. So what we should do is go into the word God itself to find out what this word God really means and why is it there written in English in a singular form. And when we read through here, we come across the word Ahlahayam, which they say Elohim, but the word is Ahlahayam. And when we look up the word Ahlahayam, H430, it means rulers, judges, divine ones, angels, gods. It's really plural. Now sometimes it could be singular, and when it is singular, it goes back to the word. Let's keep on going right here. Allah, which is singular, which is God, godlike one, mighty one. But in this case, it's Ahlahayam. Allah is God, and the yum at the end makes it plural. And we see here plural. Rulers, judges, divine ones, angels, gods. God is God like one, so on and so forth. Now, why is that there? Why is the word Ahlahayam there instead of Allah? Well, we jump down to the 26th verse. And it says, and God said, and the power said, let us make man in our image. See? So this God, or Ahlahayam, which when we click on it, you're going to see the word Ahlahayam there again, right here. Ahlahayam. Come on now. Ahlahayam. So this is the same word that we see in the first chapter, in the first verse, which is now in the 26th verse. And here it says, and God said, and the power said, and the Ahlahayam said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon earth. So now we're understanding why Ahlahayam, or God, is written in the Hebrew in a plural form, because this was more than one person or more than one spirit doing this. Now we know, according to the scriptures, Deuteronomy 6:4, hear, O Israel, the Lord our power is one Lord. Shema Yasha'Allah Yahweh Ahlahayam Yahweh Akkad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. So we know that the Most High is one, and there's no other God beside him, meaning that there's no one that's above the counsel or the order of the Most High. But we know, based off of this, in Genesis, the first chapter, that you had a plurality of gods that were in the creation. And that's why it says, in the beginning, the powers, or the Ahlahayam, created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the spirit of the powers, or Ahlahayam, moved upon the face of the waters. And the power said, let there be light, and there was light. And the power saw the light, that it was good. Now, what did it mean that it was good? Meaning that it was in accordance to the blueprint of the one true power, Yahweh. So they were ministering, working for the Most High, because Yahweh Shai, who is the Son of the Most High, was the beginning of the creation of the Most High. See, a lot of people don't believe that Yahweh Shai was created by the Most High, these so-called wacky-tacky Christians. This is Revelation chapter 3. Let me see if I can find the verse. I believe it was the 3rd chapter. I haven't gone over this in a while, so just bear with me. All right. Let's see. Let me see if I could try to remember how it was worded. Let me see. Here we go. Revelation 3:14. And unto the angel of the church of the Laodiceans write, these things saith the Amen, or the So be true, the faithful and true witness, which is Yahweh Shai, the beginning of the creation of the Most High. So Yahweh Shai was the beginning of the creation of the Most High. That's why he's his first begotten. That's why he's the only begotten son, because he was the first spirit ever created. Now, when we go to Colossians chapter 1 and verse 13, let's go here, start at 12. Giving thanks unto the Father, which hath made us meet to be partakers of the inheritance of the saints in light, who hath delivered us from the power of darkness, and hath translated us into the kingdom of his dear Son, Yahweh Shai, in whom we have redemption through his blood, even the forgiveness of sins, who is the image of the invisible power, the firstborn of every creature. And this is twofold. This is the firstborn of every creature, meaning he was the very first spirit created, as we read in Revelation 3, and also that he was Adam. But really he's the very firstborn, the very first creature that the Most High created. All right. So that's why we're reading here, and the power saw the light that it was good, because the Ahlahayam, Yahweh Shai and the angels, created everything that we saw, and they were following the blueprint of the one and true power, Yahweh. Okay. And that's pretty much what it means. And the Ahlahayam, as we read in Genesis, the 1st chapter, let's read that again, the 26th verse. And the power said, or the Ahlahayam said, let us make man in our image after our likeness. Now, I went through every one of these English translations, plus the Spanish one that they have here, and every last one of them says, let us make man in our image. I even went to the Geneva Bible, 1599, Genesis 1:26. Furthermore, God said, let us make man in our image. So pretty much every translation agrees with the King James Bible that this was more than one person speaking here. And what they were doing was following the guidelines of the one true power, Yahweh. And that's pretty much all that is. And when we go to when we go to John, the 1st chapter, in the beginning was the Word. So this is John, the Apostle John, writing down pretty much some of the same things that Moses wrote down, dealing with the beginning of the creation. In the beginning was the Word. Who is the Word? Yahweh Shai. And the Word was with the Ahlahayam. And the Word was a Allah, or a God. The same was in the beginning with the Ahlahayam. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. So it was him and the angels that created the creation based off of the blueprint of the one and true power, Yahweh. Okay? In him was life, and the life was the light of men, and the light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. And if you can't get it, then there's nothing that we could do for you. Now, we understand that I'm going to get one more point and then move on to the next one. We understand that the Most High creates good and evil. And there's a reason why we're going here. Isaiah 45:7. I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. So these angels that the Lord sent down, Yahweh Shine the angels, that the Lord sent down to create everything that we see, they are a part of a council of the Most High. Not that the one and only true living power needs any counsel, but he chooses to do what he wants to do because he is Yahweh, bottom line. And when we go to 1 Kings, the 22nd chapter, the 19th verse, this is further proof that there is the Most High, the one and true living power, Yahweh, and then there are other angels there present with him. This is also proven when we read the book of Revelation. The whole book of Revelation, there's certain chapters where it speaks about the 24 elders that sit before the throne of the Most High. Who's that? I thought it was just the Most High up there by himself. See, the Most High has the power, but he has angels around him also that do his bidding because he don't have to do nothing. He's the Most High. He's the top boss. So 1 Kings 22:19, and he said, Hear thou therefore the word of the Lord. I saw the Lord sitting on his throne, and all the host of heaven standing by him on his right hand and on his left. So you have an host in heaven, which is an army, and they're up in the heavens standing by him on his right hand and on his left. And this is why we read in the book of Job that there was a day when the sons of the Lord presented themselves before him. How do you think these devils are able to make movies, about the different, about like so-called Zeus being the top god and then other gods there with him? Because they read it in the scriptures. You see? So you have the right hand side of the council and you have the left hand side of the council, which is a perfect balance. And all the hosts of heaven standing by him on his right hand and on his left, meaning on the righteous side and on the wicked side. And you can read the rest. It'll break it down for you even further. The spirit that came before him. So this right here deals with the Ahlahayam part of this lesson. That when you read Genesis, the first chapter and the first verse, this is not talking about the Most High. This is Yahweh Shai and the angels creating everything that we see based off of the blueprint, the orders, and the instructions of the Most High, the great architect. Now, moving on to the next phase of the lesson, which is the rivers. We read in Genesis 2 how this is the generation pretty much of how the heavens and the earth were created, meaning the records. Because another lie that they try to push is when they read this word here, the generation of the heavens, they try to say that that's dealing with the genealogy of the angels or something along that. I forget, it was so long ago that we went over this. But the Muslims, I think it was, or some other people try to use this as talking about the genealogy of the angels and stuff. No, this is the records of what took place in the heavens and the earth. And now there's going to be further breaking down of the other things that took place after the creation. And when you look up the word generation, the word generation is thawaladawath, which could mean descendants, results, proceedings, generations, genealogies, account of men and their descendants, genealogical list of one's descendants, one's contemporaries. So all of this is a part of a genealogy or generation. But what we're dealing with in this genealogy or generation is course of history of creation, etc. begetting or account of heaven, metaphorical. So in other words, we're dealing with the records of how the heavens and the earth were created. And this is why the Apostle Paul said, by faith we understand that the heavens and the earth were created by the words of the Most High. Because there was no man present on the earth, because man hadn't been made yet, to be able to see the actual creation, to say, well, I actually saw when it was being created. Was because man was not on the earth yet. You see? So all this that we do is by faith. So now when we jump down to the 10th verse, it's, I started at 8. And the Lord power planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed. And if you brothers know where this account is in the book of 2nd Ezra, I believe it's a 6th chapter. If y'all could, Babako Shah, post it on the comment board so we could, don't waste any time. So if you brothers post it, I could just grab it real quick and read it. If y'all brothers know the account of the creation in, I believe it's 2nd Ezra, the 6th chapter. If you could post the exact chapter and verse, I would appreciate it greatly. Genesis 2:8, and the Lord power planted a garden eastward in Eden. So this, the whole land of earth is called Eden. The word Eden goes back to the Hebrew word Idan, which when you click on here, you see here the word Gan, which is garden, Ba, which is in, and Idan, which is Eden. And Idan means paradise or joy. Let me see if they break it down correctly. Idan, pleasure. It's close but no cigar. It means paradise or joy. Let's see what the luxury, dainty, finery, delight. Idan, to delight oneself. Paradise or joy. Because, and you look at certain parts of the earth, even today, it still is a paradise. So there was a garden that was planted eastward in Eden, or in the earth. All right. It says, and out of the ground made the Lord power to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food. The tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Because that is a tree pretty much of perfection. You'll know both good and evil. And so the serpent wasn't lying on that behalf, but he was lying when he said that they wouldn't die. So now, and a river went out of Eden to water the garden. So this particular river, this is what we're dealing with. And the word river, I believe, is Nahar. If I'm not mistaken, if my memory serves, yep, Nahar. Nahar, which means stream, river, underground streams. And you have underground streams. All right. So, and a river went out of Eden to water the garden. And there is an actual river that the Lord is pleased with when we go to the book of Psalms. Let me see. A river. Psalms 46:4. There is a river, the streams whereof shall make glad the city of the Most High, the holy place of the tabernacles of the Most High, which is what? Okay, the water, brother, Pishai. All right, so let me just go there and hold on to that just to get it lined up. 2nd Ezra 6. Okay, so okay, Salaki, I guess that wasn't it. I thought this was it. It's the one that speaks about the rivers. It speaks about the rivers. If somebody could find that one, maybe type in Euphrates. Nope, that's not it. Damn. Okay. Let me try Let me try Gihon. Nope. Let me try Hideko. I was trying to avoid wasting time, but oh boy. You know what? Let me just grab the book. Just grab the book. Hey, this is what. Oh Lord. Yep, Satan doing his thing, so you gotta let the devil work. Do what he gotta do. Get the hell out of here, Satan. Fuck off. Alright. Unplug the microphone and everything. God damn. Threw the microphone on the ground and everything. Alright, let's see now. Let me see if I can find it. If not, then we'll just move on. Just wanted to find it so I wouldn't, we wouldn't waste time looking for it later. But nevertheless, alright, just forget about it. Let's just move on. God's will, it'll come up, yeah, I saw that second Ezra 5:25, but it didn't give the names of the rivers. That's a good one. I just ran into that one, but there's one in the Apocrypha that actually goes into the actual rivers. Kind of wanted to get that one. But forget about it. Let's move on. All right, let's go. All right, let's go back to Genesis 2. So there's a river, the streams whereof shall make glad the city of the Most High, the holy place of the tabernacles of the Most High power, which pretty much is the Jordan River. All right. So, and the river went out of Eden to water the garden, which is the Jordan River, and from thence it was parted and became into four heads. So this particular river broke up into four different sources of water, so to speak. All right. it says the name of the first is Pison. Now Pison, or Payashawan, I believe it is in the Hebrew, goes back to what is called the Red Sea. Now remember, it was parted into four heads. It didn't say anything about being parted into four rivers. And it was just a point that came to mind. Okay, Salaki. Let's see. Salaki, this is, I didn't really plan anything for this, just going in the spirit. So let's see if we can get a good map to highlight what we need. What's this? No. All right. You want to make it hard? You want to play? Let's play. Okay. Euphrates. Nothing could ever be easy. Tigris. Nile. River. See? Gotta go the hard way sometimes. Just to get what you need. But we got it. Alright. Let's try this again. Genesis 2:11. The name of the first one is Pison. So here we have Pison, which is the Red Sea. And it says, I'm sorry, let me get rid of that. It says, that is it which compasses the whole land of Havilah. Now where is that land of Havilah located? This is that land of Havilah here. How can we prove that? Let's go to Genesis 25. And it's around, let's see. All right, so Genesis 25:17. And these are the years of the life of Ishmael, 137 years. This is the father of the so-called Arabs. And he gave up the spirit and died, and was gathered unto his people. And they dwelt from Havilah unto Shur, right? It says, that is before Egypt, as thou goest towards Assyria. So when you look here, this is Egypt. This is before Egypt. All this land here is before Egypt, as thou goest towards Assyria. And Assyria is up in this area. So that is the whole land of Havilah. So what's compassing the whole land of Havilah? The Red Sea. That's what's compassing the whole land of Havilah. It says, the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold, and the gold of that land is good, there is bdellium and the onyx stone. So, and the name of the second river is Gihon. Now, Gihon is the Nile River, what you see here. And the Nile River goes way down, goes further down. And another hint there, it says, the same is it that compasses the whole land of Ethiopia. Now, we don't have a map of Ethiopia, where as you go down, you'll see this river go through the land of Ethiopia. There's other maps, but I don't really want to waste time going, you brothers could look it up when you get a chance. But that is the river that compasses the whole land of Ethiopia. It says, and the name of the third river is Hiddekel. Now, Hiddekel is the Tigris River. That is it which goeth toward the east of Assyria. So here we have a map. We have the Euphrates River and you have the Tigris River. And it said that this particular river, Hiddekel, goes towards the east of Assyria. And Assyria is up in this area. So Euphrates would be west. The Tigris would be east. Euphrates west, the Tigris east. So which is the furthest east of the two? The Tigris River. So the Hiddekel River is that which goeth toward the east of Assyria, and the fourth river is Euphrates. So we have Euphrates here. So what is the other river there? The Tigris, because Assyria is up in this area somewhere. And then when you read Daniel, the 10th chapter, in the red Bible that we have, if I'm not mistaken, like I said, I haven't gone over this in a while. But just bear with me one quick second. Right. When you read the book of Daniel, the 10th chapter, right? Let's go there real quick. Daniel chapter 10 and verse 4. It says, and in the 4th, and in the 24th day of the first month, I was by the side of the great river, which is Hiddekel. Now in the red Bible, let me see what it says here for Hiddekel. Hadaqual, rapid, one of the rivers of Eden, which coursed east towards Assyria, better known as the Tigris. You know, the 70 equivalent. And then even in the red Bible, in the margin, it has a number 4, and in the margin it says Tigris or Tigris. So those are the 4 rivers of where the Garden of Eden would be located between those rivers. So if you look at that, you have the Nile, you have the Red Sea, you have the Tigris, you have the Euphrates. This would be that Garden of Eden, all of this land here. And that's why the so-called scholars call it what? The Fertile Crescent. The Fertile Crescent starts here, where Babylon was, Iraq, and it goes all the way up into Syria and back down through the land of what used to be known as Canaan, down here into Egypt. And this is the land, when you read the promises that were given to Abraham, to his seed, this was the land that was promised to be given to them, all this land here. And this is why when the tribes got their inheritance, remember you had the Jordan River coming down through here. You had the Dead Sea at the bottom, Sodom and Gomorrah. You had the land of Edom, the land of Judah, and all of that. And you had this side over here, of this side of Canaan, because you had Moab and Ammon and all them living over here. On this side of Canaan, this was part of the promised land. But you notice that Gad and Reuben and half the tribe of Manasseh got their portion of land on the Transjordan, which means across the Jordan River. Why? Because this is also part of that fruitful land, of the Fertile Crescent that the Lord promised Abraham that he was going to give to his seed, which is the nation of Israel. You know? And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that was Genesis 15, but you brothers could read it. Right. Genesis 15:17. And it came to pass that when the sun went down and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace and a burning lamp that passed between those pieces. In the same day the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, unto thy seed, Israel, have I given this land from the river of Egypt, which is right here, from this land here, from the river Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates. So all of this land from here to here, all of this land was given to the nation of Israel. And when you look at the inheritance of the children of Israel, let me see, 12 tribes land. Let's see what we can find here. Just trying to find a really good one that's gonna, there we go. Right here, you can see this used to be the land of Canaan. And you see that they have this side, and then you have through here is what? The River Jordan, as you see right here. River Jordan. And what do you have? Manasseh, Gad, and Reuben on the other side of the Jordan River, because all of this is part of that Fertile Crescent. You know, and they got all of that land, you know, based off of the promise that was given to Abraham. All right. So again, the 4 rivers being Pison, the Red Sea, Gihon, the Nile, River, Hiddekel, the Tigris River, and the Euphrates, which today is still called the Euphrates. And there's a reason why the Lord left it that way, because there was great future prophecy that was going to take place near the river Euphrates, namely of World War III. All right, so that is the second phase of the lesson. Now the third phase, we'll try to move through it quickly, would be the serpent. Now when we read in Genesis, the 3rd chapter, most people think that when we read about the serpent, it's talking about a man. It's not talking about a man. It's talking about most people think it's talking about an actual serpent. Salakia, I misspoke. Let me say that again. When people read this, they think that it's talking about an actual serpent with a forked tongue that was slithering up a tree and started speaking to Eve. No, this was an actual man. It says, now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord power had made. Now, man is subtle because the Lord gave man understanding, the ability to think, and the ability to speak, which he did not give to the animals. The animals communicate, but they don't have a spoken language, a written language. They don't have the ability to speak from their thoughts, as the Most High gave to man. So this is talking about an actual man in the garden compared to a serpent. And a serpent is known as a sly and treacherous person. It says, and he said unto the woman, yea, had the Most High power said, you shall not eat of every tree of the garden. So when we look up this word serpent, the word there is nachash, which is serpent, snake, serpent, image of a serpent, fleeing serpent, mythological. Let's go to the root word, to practice divination, divine, observe signs, learn by experience, diligently observe, practice fortune telling, take as an omen. So this is not talking about an actual serpent, although there are times when you read about a serpent that is talking about actual serpents. To practice divination, to observe the signs or omens. So an actual serpent does not do these things. An actual serpent does not practice these things, because a serpent is just a serpent. But when you look up the word serpent in the common dictionary, because they really didn't go into it too tough there. You look it up in the common dictionary, you have serpent, a large snake, or a sly or treacherous person, especially one who exploits a position of trust in order to betray it. And that's exactly what happened in the Garden of Eden when the serpent beguiled Eve. And that has been their mission and their job. And that same spirit that was in the serpent in the garden is the same spirit that came into Cain, is the same spirit that came into Esau and the Edomites and these so-called white people today, which are the descendants of Esau, Edom. The counterpart of the spiritual demon Satan, or that serpent seed. And that's pretty much all it means. People think that this is an actual serpent, and it's not. When we go to the book of Revelation, chapter 20, but before we go there, let's go to Psalms chapter 58 to prove even further that Psalms 58:3. The wicked are estranged from the womb; they go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. So this is dealing with the wicked, and we know by research that the wicked are who? The Edomites. So as soon as they're born, they're estranged. They're strangers to what? To the truth. And they do what? Speak lies, because deception is one of their greatest weapons outside of the sword. It says their poison, meaning their lies, is like the poison of a serpent. The same way that the serpent in the Garden of Eden deceived Eve through that subtlety, through that venomous things that he was saying to Eve, which caused her to be deceived and fall by going into the very thing that the Most High said not to deal with. 2 Corinthians 11:3. But I fear lest by any man as a serpent beguiled Eve through his subtlety. So your mind should be corrupted from the simplicity that is in Yahushua. So the serpent, which was a man, by his word and his cunning and his treachery, this beguiled and deceived Eve through his subtlety. Now let me see if in the New Testament, where it speaks about serpent, uh, Ophis, snake, serpent. With the ancients, the serpent was the emblem of cunning and wisdom. The serpent who deceived Eve was regarded by the Jews as the devil, which was here we go. Through the idea of sharpness of vision, a snake figuratively as a type of sly, cunning, and artful, malicious person, especially Satan's serpent. So it's an actual person that would be classified as a Satan or a serpent. And that's exactly what we're reading here in the book of Genesis 3 and 1 about the serpent who was more subtle than any beast of the field. It was an actual man in the Garden of Eden that had color, but the spirit that was in him was a wicked spirit. And we've read that the wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. Their poison is like the poison of a serpent. They are like the deaf adder that stoppeth the ear. So no matter what you do or say, they can't do the right thing because they are programmed to do wickedness, which will not hearken to the voice of charmers, charming never so wisely. So now when we read Revelation, the 20th chapter, when we read Revelation, the 20th chapter, in the first verse, and I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand, and he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. So now who is this dragon, that old serpent that's going all the way back to the Garden of Eden, which is the devil and Satan? Who is this talking about? This is not talking about an actual person. I'm sorry, this is not talking about an actual animal, a beast, a reptile, or the spiritual demon Satan. Although they are working for the spiritual demon Satan, but this is not talking about the spiritual demon Satan. This is talking about an actual man or a group of men or a group of people that resemble that. Now, let's go to Revelation, the 17th chapter, and the first verse. I'm sorry, not the first verse. Let's see. Just bear with me while I find the verse. Does it speak about, let's see. You know what? Let me go real quick to the 13th chapter and we'll jump right back here. Revelation 13 and 1. And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his head 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. So this was an actual beast that came out of the Mediterranean Sea that the Apostle John saw, but it didn't. It was a representation of a power system that was going to be operating under tyranny, pretty much. And we see that happening today. So when we go to the 17th chapter and the 9th verse, it says, and here is the mind which has wisdom, because the Lord broke it down to the Apostle John, although he didn't really fully understand what it meant, but the Lord told him what this represented. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. So these 7 mountains represent governments. So this serpent that we're reading about in the book of Revelation 20 is not talking about the spiritual demon Satan, but a physical counterpart on the earth of an empire that would be ruling. 7 governmental powers, on which the woman sitteth, the woman being America, and there are 7 kings. So when we read in Revelation 13 and Revelation 20, and he laid hold on a dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, this is talking about a group of men, right? And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and one is, and the other is not yet coming. When he cometh, he must continue a short space. So here it's breaking down what these 7 heads and 10 horns, this beast, represents. So in Revelation 20, it's talking about the same beast. This is the same beast with the 7 heads and the 10 horns. And here it's saying he laid hold on the dragon, which the dragon represents the Roman Empire. That old serpent, because that spirit that was in that man in the Garden of Eden is the same spirit that's in Esau, which is the devil and Satan, because that is where they get their power from, the left hand side, and they are created to be the wicked. And there's just like there's a council of righteousness and wickedness in the heavens, there's a council of righteousness and wickedness on the earth, as in heaven, so on earth. And now, this is why the apostle Paul came back and said this in 2 Thessalonians 2 and 5. Remember you not that when I was yet with you, I told you these things, and now you know what withholdeth, that he might be revealed in this time. For the mystery of iniquity doth already work, because the Roman Empire was a part of that wickedness, was a part of that of this corrupt 7 heads and 10 horns, that the physical counterpart of the spiritual demon Satan on earth, which is that the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. And what did it says? For the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he who now letteth will let, until he be taken out of the way. And we're at the point now where he's about to be taken out of the way. But it was a mystery of iniquity. It was a mystery of who the devil is, the people of who the devil are on the planet Earth. And that is Esau, the so-called white man. So that's why it said that he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. And this goes back into history, when the Roman Empire fell and they were shut down or shut up or imprisoned, so to speak, for a period of 1,000 years. And that's where the Holy Roman Empire, so-called Holy Roman Empire, came into place, and the Byzantine Empire, which is pretty much part of the same. And after about 1,000-year period, around 1300s, 1400s, they started to fall. The Byzantine Empire started falling, and the Edomites came back up into power, the wicked. And that's why when we jump down to the 7th verse of the 20th chapter, it says, and when the 1,000 years are expired, meaning when their prison sentence is up, Satan, or Esau, the so-called white man, shall be loosed out of his prison. So the physical counterpart of the spiritual demon Satan, or the sons and daughters of Satan, would be loosed again out of this prison. And the very first thing they did was what? And shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the 4 quarters of the earth. And this is why it says that the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? So if Esau is not the wicked, if the so-called white man is not the Edomites, if they're not the wicked, then who, where, and who is he? Who did all of these things? Who brought the great deception upon the planet Earth? Who, going back to Revelation 13, who has, and upon his heads, the name of blasphemy? Who has the name of blasphemy upon them? Because all the other nations did not put themselves up as being the Most High, as being Yahushua, as being the angels, as being the people of the Most High. Esau did that. That is that dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns, which are the 7 major empires of the Edomites, beginning with the Greeks and ending here with America, which is the 8th head. And this is the biggest and the mightiest empire ever of the Edomites. And Yahushua said when he comes back, he's coming to destroy the Edomites. So he's coming to break down this power structure, this system that they have created through deception. You know, so, I mean, I pray that this lesson was edifying. You know, this has been GMS Biblical History Chronicles, the Genesis story, Ahlahayam, which are the angels, rivers, which are the 4 rivers, and the serpent, which is Esau, the so-called white man, you know, which is that the beast with the 7 heads and 10 horns. So I pray that you brothers have been edified. Until the next time I say Shalom. Earth, as in heaven, so on earth. And now, this is why the apostle Paul came back and said this in 2 Thessalonians 2 and 5. Remember you not that when I was yet with you,